There was a show that I grew up loving, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, with Ozzie, Harriet, David, and that irrepressible Ricky. I was fortunate enough to write and co-produce with my friend Mike Dimich, a 2-hour movie special called An Ozzie and Harriet Christmas. Enjoy them and enjoy your holiday.
Come in.
Hi, Mr. Nelson.
Well, hello there, Terry. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, same to you.
Hey, that's quite a gun you've got there.
Yeah, choose ping pong balls.
Well, how about this?
It's very well constructed, too. I got it yesterday and it still works.
Really something.
La, la, la.
And now, KTLA, Golden West Broadcasters for Los Angeles, proudly presents America's favorite family, the Nelsons, in An Ozzie and Harriet Christmas. Here's Harriet, who plays the part of Harriet Nelson. The older of the Nelson boys, David, appears as David Nelson. And his younger brother, the irrepressible Ricky, played on film by Rick Nelson. Also tonight, Christmas greetings from Don DeFore as the Nelsons' neighbor, Thorny. Parley Bear as Darby. Lyle Talbot and Mary Jane Croft as Joe and Clara Randolph. Kent McCord as Kent. James Stacy as Fred. Plus appearances by Ozzie's younger brother, Don Nelson. And special guest of the Nelsons tonight, Tom Hatten.
Ma, I found this old box of Christmas tree ornaments out in the garage.
Oh, thanks, Dave. Tree looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. Who all's coming by tonight?
Oh, Mary Jane Croft and Lyle Talbot and Don DeFore and your Uncle Don.
Oh, great. Jim Stacy called, and he's coming over with Kent McCord.
Oh, good. And Parley Bear said he might stop by.
Oh, great. Boy, it should be a lot of fun. Just like the old days, right? The whole neighborhood's coming over.
Well, that's what Christmas is all about. Family and friendship. Time to get together again with family and friends.
It sure is. I remember about this time every year, we used to run the Christmas show. The boys earn Christmas money?
Oh, yeah. People always seem to like that show. That was a long time ago. Our first season of The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, 1952. I still remember the story. You and Rick were always trying to find a way to earn some money for Christmas. For yourselves, of course.
David, that's cheating.
It is not cheating.
It is so.
The trouble with you is you're a chicken.
Oh, yeah, that's what you think, wise guy.
That's what I know, Half Pint.
You better watch out, David. I may be small, but I'm awful mean.
Oh, sit down.
Hey, take it easy, will you? What's all the noise about?
Oh, were you talking too loud, Pop?
Are you kidding? Is this one of your friendly little discussions?
Yes, sir. That's what I can't understand. How can anybody be as smart as you and have a son as dumb as David?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm in high school now, and I'm getting a little bit too old to get in these silly arguments with you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, come on, calm down, will you, fellas?
You better tell him to be careful, Pop. I'm getting pretty strong, boy.
That's a laugh.
Oh, yeah? Have you seen my muscles lately?
What's the matter? Can't you find them either?
Come on, take it easy, will you, guys?
Okay, Pop. Ricky has something important he wants to ask you.
Who, me? I thought you were going to ask him.
We had the elections and you were elected.
Yeah, I know. I thought I voted for you.
You did, and I won, so you have to ask him.
Yeah, well, somebody better ask me or I'll never find out. Come on, David, what is it?
We'd like to do our Christmas shopping a little early this year, Pop.
Well, it sounds like a fine idea to me. You certainly have my permission for that.
Oh, boy. Come on, let's go, David.
Wait a minute. You're forgetting the most important part.
What's that?
We need some money to buy the presents with.
Atta boy, David. I knew you could ask him.
I've been framed.
Pretty neat job, too, if you ask me.
Oh, I don't mess around, boy.
Looks like I'm the guy that's been framed. How much is this going to cost me?
Oh, don't worry, Pop. It won't cost you anything.
Well, there must be a catch to it somewhere.
There is. See, we want to work for the money.
Well, that sounds like a very commendable idea.
You can blame David.
I thought if we worked for it, we'd appreciate it more.
That's right.
That's at least the way I feel.
I always appreciate it more if Pop gives it to us.
No, David's right, Ricky.
Can we do it, Pop?
Well, I don't see why not. I think there are lots of little jobs you can do around the house and earn some extra money.
What's this? Did I hear you say you were paying for housework now, dear?
Well, only for the boys. You see, they want to earn a little extra money for Christmas presents.
Well, that sounds like a fine idea.
Well, that's not exactly what we meant, Pop.
Well, I thought you said you wanted to work and earn some money.
We mean a regular job in a store.
A regular job?
Oh, just on weekends and after school, maybe.
A lot of the kids are doing it.
Well, I'm sure there are lots of things you could do around the house here. You could help your mother with the chores.
Yeah, but we want to make some money.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but if Mom doesn't get paid, then it's not fair.
Yeah, that's a thought.
Now, just a second. Let's tackle one problem at a time. Where do you guys think you could get a job?
And we could work in a store.
Oh, I think you guys are a little young for that.
And we talked to Mr. Miller at the grocery store, and he said he'd think it over.
Oh, I don't see how you'd make much money.
If it was an ice cream store, I'd work for nothing, boy.
You may have something there.
How about it, Pop? What do you say?
Well, I don't suppose earning a little Christmas money will do you any harm.
Oh, I'm not sure I like the idea they're going out and working in some strange place, though.
Oh, don't worry, Mom. We know practically everybody in town. Or at least Ricky does.
Really?
Sure. When we go to the bakery, the lady always gives him a free cookie. When we go to the drugstore, he gets free bubble gum. He even gets free ice cream at the soda store.
Say, you do all right, don't you?
Oh, I don't mess around, boy.
He knows everybody. He's a regular politician.
Can I help it if older women find me attractive?
I still think you guys are pretty young to go out and get an actual job.
Pop used to work when he was a boy, didn't you, Pop?
Well, yes, that's true, David. I'll never forget this one winter. I think it was the coldest winter we ever had. I had this job working Saturdays in a grocery store. I had to trudge 3 miles through the snow just to get there.
Did you work afternoons, too?
Well, no, it wasn't a regular job, but... See, it seemed in those days we had more snow in the winters, and your Uncle Al and I used to pick up some extra money shoveling snow off people's sidewalks. Never forget this one afternoon we took care of 15 customers.
Holy smokes.
Well, that sounds like a lot of hard work, boy.
Well, if you figure on earning extra Christmas money, you gotta count on a lot of hard work.
Oh, it's okay with me, Pop, can we?
Well, it's up to you guys. It's all right with me.
Gee, thanks, Pop.
Well, I want to go on record as saying this is not my idea.
Come on, Ricky. Let's go.
I could have been talked out of this very easily.
But you girls be careful. We're going downtown.
Okay, Mom.
Will you do me one favor, Mom?
What's that, dear?
Will you tell David he doesn't have to hold my hand when we cross the street anymore?
Go on. We want to hold your hand anyhow.
Oh, yeah? Don't forget, I'm also attracted to younger women.
Hi, Oz.
Oh, hi, Thorny.
What's up? Planning a trip to the moon?
No, I was just looking up at the sky. The weather seems a little threatening today, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Say, not to be changing the subject, but I just saw your 2 young sons heading down the street. They looked like they were in an awful big hurry.
Oh, they're pretty important guys today, Thorny. They were going to work.
Don't tell me they got a job.
Yeah? Yeah, they want to earn a little Christmas money. You know, it's pretty tough for kids to find work these days.
Yes, it is. My boy Will's been looking all week. But nobody seems to need a 15-year-old boy who's very good at basketball.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, Harriet, do you
Quite
know...
a storm, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know where my car keys are?
Well, I hope you don't plan to drive on a day like this.
Yeah, I think I'll go over to Miller's grocery store and pick up the boys.
Miller's grocery store?
Yeah, they're working over there this afternoon.
Well, how do you know?
Well, I wasn't going to tell you this quite so soon, but I made arrangements with Mr. Miller to find a few things for him to do around the store. Then he's going to pay them, and I'm going to reimburse him. Of course, they don't know about this last part.
For goodness sakes, dear, wasn't that clever of you?
Well, I thought it was this morning, but now I see how rainy it is, I'm not quite so sure. I don't know as I like the idea they're trudging around this mud and rain all afternoon.
Well, I thought you said they were going to work in the store.
Well, yes, but he'll probably have them making some deliveries and things like that.
Oh, not on a day like this.
Well, you know kids, they'll probably be trying hard to make good on their first day.
Come to think of it, they didn't take their raincoats, did they?
No, nor their galoshes. I think I better drive over there and pick them up, Harriet.
Oh, I don't think that's necessary.
I'd better go get the boys.
Oh, relax, dear. Here comes Mr. Miller up the walk now.
Oh, good. He's probably bringing the boys home. Hi, Mr. Miller.
Howdy, Mr. Nelson. Hello, Mrs. Nelson.
Hello.
Sure is coming down, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an awful day out.
Oh, I better not come in any further. My feet are kind of muddy.
It's okay. Where are the boys? Out in the truck?
Oh, yeah, David and Ricky. See, what happened to them? I waited around the store this afternoon. They never did show up.
You mean they're not working down your grocery store?
I know. I figured you must have kept them in with the way the weather turned out and everything.
Well, no. Somebody phoned at noon and told to show up for work. I thought it was you.
No, it wasn't me. I thought you were going to tell them.
Well, yes, I was, but this party phoned about noontime and told the boys to report for work at 2 o'clock. I just figured it was you.
No, it wasn't me. I had lunch over at wife's sister's place this afternoon. They don't have a phone. My brother-in-law comes over to the store and uses mine. Sits there talking and eating fruit. Runs a pretty good-sized bill, too.
That's funny.
Well, you wouldn't think so if you had to pay it.
I wonder where the boys are working.
Beats me. Well, bye-bye, Mr. Nelson. Bye, Mrs. Nelson.
Goodbye, Mr. Miller.
Bye, Mr. Miller. Here, I'll put those away, dear.
And I'm worried about the boys. Did you hear that? They didn't show up at the grocery store.
Yes, I know. Let me check over this list and make sure everything's here.
Hey, did you hear what I said? The boys aren't at Miller's Market.
Yes, dear, I heard you. Milk, bread, butter,
Gee, I wonder where they could be.
soup, lettuce, string beans.
Well, aren't you worried about them?
No, not particularly.
Well, Harriet, it's pouring down rain outside. The boys don't have their raincoats. They don't have their galoshes or anything. They're someplace getting soaked to the skin, and we don't even know where they are.
Oh, Mr. Schultz promised me he wouldn't let them leave the store.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes, they're working at Schultz's Bakery. I only hope they don't eat up more than the $2 I promised to give him.
You mean to say you pulled the same stunt with Mr. Schultz that I did with Mr. Miller?
Yes, I did. You know, they say some people even get to look alike after they've been married a long time.
Here I've been worried to death about the boys, and they're sitting in a nice, cozy bakery.
I only hope Mr. Schultz doesn't leave them alone with the chocolate eclairs.
Yeah, he must have been the one who phoned this noon. See, it's getting kind of late. I just say, why don't you phone Mr. Schultz and tell him I'll be down to pick the boys up in the car. I wouldn't want him to walk all the way home this rain.
Hello, Mr. Schultz? This is Mrs. Nelson. Oh, fine, thank you. Say, will you tell David and Ricky that their father will come down in the car and...
I'll be down about 10 minutes, Tom.
What was that, Mr. Schultz? They didn't?
What's this?
Well, are you sure they aren't there?
Tell him to look in the pantry.
What'd you call at lunchtime and... Well, yes, I know. Well, somebody called and told him to be at work at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Oh. Yes. Well, thank you, Mr. Schultz. Goodbye.
They're not there, huh?
They aren't at the bakery.
Well, be darned, where the heck can they be? I wonder what kind of place would hire kids about that age. Maybe drugstores or grocery stores or bakeries. Here, call up every drugstore, bakery, and grocery store in town.
All right, you look in the book and I'll do the phoning.
Gee whiz, what do we do now? We've called every grocery...
Hi, Mom.
Oh, boys, where the heck have you been?
We've been working, don't you remember?
Sure, we told you.
Well, yes, but where?
The Emporium.
The Emporium.
The department store? What were you doing down there?
We were actors.
Actors?
Yeah, Ricky and I and 3 other guys. We sat in a big window and watched television.
We were better actors than some of the actors we saw.
What did you just sit in the window and watch television?
Yeah, he gave us each $1.
Just think of all the times we watched the Thornberrys television for nothing.
Gee, you know, come to think of it, it's a pretty good advertising stunt.
Well, you boys are soaking wet. Did you walk home?
No, I took a taxi.
A taxi? Well, why didn't you phone? I'd have gone down and picked you up in the car.
And we tried about 6 times, but the line was always busy.
Well, your mother got kind of worried, and she's been phoning around town a little bit to see where you guys were. Gee, it's a shame you had to use up your money in a taxi cab.
I still have 50 cents left.
And I got a quarter.
Oh, well, that doesn't even up. How come you have 50 cents and you only have a quarter?
I'm a big tipper.
Come on, you guys. Get out of those wet clothes.
The man wants us back every Saturday for the next month.
You should have seen the audience we had, even in the rain.
Ricky started showing off.
I did not. I always watch television standing on my head.
You say this man wants you back every Saturday for a month?
Yes, sir, that's what he said.
And all you do is watch television?
Yes, sir.
And he pays you $1 apiece?
Mm-hmm.
Gee. wonder if you could use a slightly older boy. I have a propeller beanie, and we'll travel.
I feel good just remembering that program. It's going to be a wonderful old-fashioned Christmas, David.
It sure is.
Joy to the world, the Lord has come.
Oh, it's Tom Hatten and Christmas
Receive
carolers.
her King. Let every heart prepare him room.
Shall we let him in and have ice cream?
Nature sing. Let heaven and nature sing. And heaven.
Hey, Merry Christmas!
Come on in, you guys.
Stay tuned for more adventures with America's favorite family, the Nelsons, as an Ozzie and Harriet Christmas continues. And now we return to an Ozzie and Harriet Christmas.
Tom Hatten, hi.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Mrs. Nelson.
Hi, you better call me Harriet.
All right,
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Harriet.
Hi, kids. I'm David.
Hi, David.
Hi, Mrs. Nelson.
Tom, I've seen you so much on TV, I feel like I know you.
Well, thank you, Dave. And you know I've seen you a lot on television, too.
Well, thank you.
You're Harriet on the Ozzie and Harriet show. I watch you every Saturday morning.
Oh, thank you. Well, you kids all look ready for Christmas. How about some cake and ice cream?
Yeah.
Good, I'll be right back. Don't go away now.
Gee, David, that's a beautiful tree.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Yeah, some of the ornaments on that tree really bring back memories.
Hey, kids, I'll bet that Dave could tell us some stories about the Christmas shows that the Nelson family used to do. Will you do that, Dave?
I sure would. As a matter of fact, I remember one show we did when Rick and I were real young, where we wanted snow to come for Christmas because we had asked for skis. And in the television show, we used to do a lot of flashbacks. And the same thing really happened to my dad and his brother. So in the show, Rick played Ozzie and I played Uncle Al. And we waited for the snow to come.
You don't stop pushing your face against that window, you're going to have a flat nose.
When do you think it's going to snow, Mom?
Well, it doesn't look very hopeful, dear. The stars are out.
I hate to say it, but I doubt if it's going to snow at all.
What's the matter with you, Al? Don't you have any faith in Pop?
No, of course I have, but he can't just walk outside and make it snow. Oh, hi, boys.
Hi, Pop. How's it look outside?
Well, maybe it was my imagination, but I kind of thought it turned colder as I walked up Hackensack Road.
Hey, what's that stuff on your lip, Pop?
Hey, look, it's snowing outside. Pop's got snow on his face.
Oh, no, don't get excited, boys. That's shredded pecan. I stopped off at the ice cream store and had a sundae.
Better get ready for supper, George. I'm going to put the things on now.
Okay, Ethel, I'm practically ready right now.
Gee, aren't there any signs of snow at all, Pop?
Well, there are no definite signs, but you can't tell. The signs may change, you know.
Do you really think so?
Oh, boy, that'd be swell.
Now, look, boys. I'm afraid you're jumping to conclusions here. I didn't exactly promise you it was going to snow tonight, remember?
I know, you said it'd probably snow tomorrow.
I can hardly wait.
Boy, that'd really be the cat's pajamas. We could go over to Strohmeyer's Hill and try out our new skis.
Heck yeah. What good are new skis if there isn't any snow? Pop,
Yeah?
it is going to snow, isn't it?
Yes, Ozzie, I think it is going to snow.
Oh, boy, come on, Al. Let's...
Right behind you.
Oh, wash your hands, Ozzie.
Okay, Mom.
You too, Al.
Okay, Mom.
George, supper's ready. I said supper's ready, George.
Oh, yes.
You know, I couldn't help overhearing. Aren't you taking quite a chance?
Well, what else can I say, Ethel? I mean, the boys were looking up at me with that complete faith, that absolute confidence. If I want it to snow, it'll snow. How could I refuse?
Did you see any snow yet?
No, not yet. Who says I was looking for snow anyway?
I wonder when it'll start.
I don't know.
I'm going to get up real early so I can be the first one down to Strohmeyer's Hill. Want me to wake you up?
Okay. You better go back to sleep, Oz.
Hey, Al, I just heard some snow fall.
That was my shoe. Now go back to sleep.
really think it'll snow tomorrow?
The paper didn't say it would. But Pop said it would, and Pop's barometer said it would. That makes 2 against 1.
Yeah, but what do you think?
Well, Pop's always told the truth to us, hasn't he?
Sure.
Well, then,
What are you doing?
get my flannel nightshirt. You don't think I want to catch pneumonia, do you, when all that snow starts falling?
Carl, wake up. It's snowing like 6 feet.
Oh, my goodness sakes, boys, what's all the yelling about? It's snowing outside, Pa. Well, so it is.
How'd you do it?
That's a secret. I'm not going to tell you. Daniel, look, it's snowing out.
I know it is. The Weather Bureau's phoned 3 times and wanted to buy your barometer. And Charlie Thornberry snowed in up there.
How about that? Come on, Ozzie, let's get dressed.
I put your clothes in the bathroom, boys. It's warmer in there.
Thanks for the snow, Pop.
That's all right, boys. Anytime at all.
Gee, that was a great story, David. Right, kids?
Yeah.
I can't believe that I am actually standing in the Nelson household. I grew up in, well, just like you did, and just like a lot of families all over the world. Ozzie and Harriet, 14 years, was the longest running situation comedy ever. Of course, it's still running in syndication, so that a whole new generation of families have discovered what life is like with America's favorite family, the Nelsons. But of course, it didn't start on television, did it?
No, as a matter of fact, it started way before Rick and I were born, because my dad had an orchestra and...
Except that people listened to them instead of watching them.
The solid silver with beauty that lives forever is International Sterling. From Hollywood, International Silver Company, creators of International Sterling, presents The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, starring America's favorite young couple, Ozzie Nelson and Harriet Hilliard.
After being featured on radio series with Joe Penner, Bob Ripley, and Red Skelton, Ozzie and Harriet started their own show in the fall of 1944. First, other child actors were hired to portray David and Ricky, but in 1949, the boys auditioned. They were an immediate success and replaced the imposters. David was 11. Ricky was 7. With the threat of television slowly creeping into the strictly audio medium of radio, the ever-resourceful Ozzie packaged a feature film pilot for a television series at Universal called Here Come the Nelsons, 1952. It was perfect. The Nelsons were so natural, just like real people. On October 10th, 1952, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet debuted on ABC. It lasted until 1966. The emphasis slowly shifted from Ozzie and Harriet and showed the growth and development of David and Ricky.
Was up against Ben Johnson.
All right, Nelson, go for your gun whenever you're ready.
Next on an Ozzie and Harriet Christmas. And now, back to an Ozzie and Harriet Christmas.
Yeah, well, Spumoni's pretty much like Tutti Frutti. Oh, I'll get it. Oh, it's Jim Stacy and Kent McCord. They played Rick's fraternity brothers on the show.
Hi, Mrs. Nelson. How are you?
Hi.
Hi, Mrs. Nelson. Hi, David.
Hi, guys. You know Tom Hatten, don't you?
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Kent.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Jim.
You should have been here when we had the big family reunion. We went through this for 40 minutes.
We just want to know where the lease is. What lease? Oh, here we go again. The lease for our fraternity house. I don't know. I've never seen it.
Well, it's been here for 20 years.
Well, I haven't.
Look, we got to take a look at it. We got a tip it might be running out. If that's true, we got to make sure we can renew it.
Look, I don't even know what it looks like.
Okay, don't get mad about it.
Well, let's take a look in the safe and see if it's there.
Hey, yeah, it's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay.
We were just telling the kids about doing the show with Ozzie.
Well, you know, Tom, Jim and I both owe Ozzie a great deal. I was trying to make it as a football player in college.
When I got my first part on the show, I was an extra, just happened to be on the set that day.
But how did you happen to get a regular part on the show?
Oh, well, I was standing over by that stage door over there, and the assistant director came over, and it was when he told me that Mr. Nelson was looking for someone to play with David and be one of his fraternity brothers. So the assistant director said, you know, he'll be coming over to talk to you in a little while. So Mr. Nelson come over and he approached me, and I thought I was looking pretty cool, you know, looking like an actor, you know. So, so he comes over, he says, hi, I'm Ozzie Nelson, your name? I said, Jim Stacy. And he said, have you ever done any acting? And I said, oh, lying through my teeth. I said, of course I did. A lot of acting. I mean, I did the picture called, and, but he asked me if I'd get in front of the camera, and he'd give me a little test. So my first line was, believe it or not, was, hey, Rick, you want a hamburger? And it was in the malt shop, and I sat there, and I thought you had to be very low voice and kind of cool when you're talking, pronunciating. I said, hey, Rick, would you like a hamburger? He says, keep the camera rolling. He says, Jim, say it like this, say, hey, Rick, you want a hamburger? And I said, hey, Rick, you want a hamburger? We did about 3 takes with different takes on me copying Ozzie, and that's how I got started.
So you found out that naturalism school worked for you, and so you kept on doing it.
I remember my first line too, and it was a party scene, and a big fraternity bash at the Nelson house, and Ozzie and Harriet come home, and I was just exiting, and Ozzie said to me, "Where's Rick?" And my line was, "Rick who?" As I walked out, and that was the first line that I ever had in pictures or anything, and. From that, as Ozzie did with a lot of people, a lot of young people, he brought them along slowly, and he started feeding lines, and he would pick friends of David and Rick's and start giving them little bits of business to do here and there. And I finally wound up doing, I guess, about 50 episodes of Ozzie and Harriet as an actor, and over the 5 years that I worked on it.
And then,
well, a friend of mine at Universal had gone into new talent over there, and he knew that I was doing the role on Ozzie and Harriet, and he asked me to present a scene for him, and that led to a contract at Universal, and then eventually worked with Jack Webb, and Jack then hired me for the role of Adam 12. But you know, Ozzie was a tremendous catalyst in my life, and my whole family's life, as a matter of fact, and it was constant consultation with Ozzie during the whole run of Adam 12, and he also directed 2 of them, and you know, he was a dear man to me.
Kent was nice enough to get me a directing job on Adam 12, which I'll forever be grateful for.
Jim, I think everybody knows you from the Western series Lancer.
Lancer, right, Tom.
It didn't have a long run, but I remember it very well.
2-year run, I fulfilled all my saddle fancies.
Well, I want you to know, Jim, that I and lots of my friends really respect you for going back into your career after your accident. I remember very, very well the very first reappearance on television in that show with
Lee Majors.
Lee Majors,
yeah,
right.
I played the handicap skier, right. That was a good show. It was called Just a Little Inconvenience.
Yeah, I remember
it very much.
Really well. You did a great job, and you've been doing others too. Made a strong personal statement about coming back from tragedy, and a lot of people can stand that, believe me.
I'm pretty lucky, pretty fortunate, still working and doing well.
Doggone right.
A lot of people who were on the show went on to become very well known.
Well, for one thing, I was afraid you might be mad at me or something.
Oh, you mean just because you called off the day for Saturday night?
Well, yes.
Oh, those things happen. Everybody has a right to change his mind once in a while, don't you think?
Well, it wasn't exactly a case of changing my mind.
Well, whatever it was, I know you must have been telling the truth because you have so much character and integrity.
Do you really think so?
Well, of course. I was telling my mother and father about your offer, and they were tremendously impressed.
My offer?
Yeah, I told them how you offered to be my personal secretary to pay for the fender you smashed.
Oh, they won't tell my mother and father about the fender, will they?
Oh, no. In fact, they don't even know your folks.
Oh, well, that's good.
By the way, my brother checked and it'll cost $25 to get the fender fixed.
Who's gonna pay for it?
Oh, don't worry about that. I had some money saved up, so I paid him.
Oh, honestly, Rick, you're the most wonderful boy, so understanding.
Please don't kiss me now, at least not here in the library.
Well, looks like we've just about had it for today. Let's see what kind of fiendish tortures I can whip up for you for Wednesday. Hold it, you ain't heard nothing yet. I'd also like you to read the first 2 chapters of Robertson's Economics. Find several copies in the library. case Mr. Plumstead and Mr. Nelson don't know where the library is, I'll be very happy to direct them.
There's something I gotta tell you.
Can I wait a few minutes?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Why?
I've got a surprise for you. Close your eyes.
Oh, what's this?
Go ahead, close your eyes.
Okay, they're closed.
Surprise.
Is it for me?
Of course, I knitted it for you.
Oh, thanks.
Try it on.
Yeah, it looks real nice.
Thank you. I hope it's fit.
All right, Nelson, go for your gun whenever you're ready. Better start drawing, mister.
Go ahead, why don't you draw?
I'll count 3, and you better draw.
Go ahead if you think you can count up to 3.
1, 2, 3.
That's a good try, Mr. Nelson, but not fast enough.
Oh, thank you. Nice shooting, you unfair and square. You're really fast on the draw.
Thank you. How about a nice hand for the late Mr. Nelson?
Hey, it's Don Nelson, kids.
Hi, John.
Hey, gentlemen. Merry Christmas to you. This is his younger brother.
Do we know Don Nelson? I mean, he wrote most of our shows. We
got the pen right there, the road there. Anyway, yes, we did actually we wrote like 435 shows, 14 years worth. Oz was the main man, of course. And there was, Ben Gershman, Bill Davenport, Jay Summers, Dick Bensfield, Perry Grant. I had the seniority, however, because I had the best agent, my mother.
I think we got some more ice creams. You can stick around.
Just came by to leave the package.
Oh, you're running on?
Yes.
Would you do me a favor? I'm having such a good time, but it is past the kids' bedtime. Would you mind dropping them off on the way home?
Come on, kids. We'll have a good time on the way home.
Bye, Dan.
See you, Don.
Very much. You sang to her. Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Bye, kids.
Bye-bye. Bye. Take care of yourself. All right.
Have fun, Don.
Hey, thanks a lot. I may be back.
Bye-bye, Don.
Bye-bye, Don.
Thanks for the Tutti Frutti ice cream.
Coming up next, Ricky becomes a teen idol on an Ozzie and Harriet Christmas.
Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go.
Oh, Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Haven't you heard, little man? Christmas is over.
That's where you're wrong, my boy. The spirit of Christmas lives all year long.
No, you did.
Well, after Rick's first record, young girls used to try and sneak in our house, and they had me crazy. Kids knocking on the door at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and climbing up on the back patio over the wall and into the second story. They scared the life out of me.
I remember that first episode. What was it? The song... Ricky the Drummer. That was in the episode, Ricky the Drummer. What was the song?
That was I'm Walking. I think it was about 1957.
That's right, yeah.
Rick was 16.
Yeah, after that, things really started to happen.
It all started as a joke. Rick was going with this girl at the time, and she had a big crush on Elvis. And Elvis was Rick's idol, too. And he told her he could make a record. And she laughed at him. And that was when we filmed Ricky the Drummer.
We stopped off at the record shop and got some Tommy Jackson records.
Oh, I understand he's got some real good ones out.
Yeah, he sure has. Hey, Mom, will you give me a yell when dinner's ready? I'll be up in my room. I want to play these records.
Oh, Rick, why don't you play him here in the den? We've got a good player.
Well, I'd kind of like to play along with him on my drums. Who knows, the drummer might get sick tomorrow night.
Now, that's a fine thing to say.
Oh, I don't mean anything serious. I just mean temporarily indisposed. Just long enough for me to sit in for a couple numbers.
Close the windows now. We don't want to blast the neighbors off the block.
Now, Harry, that's not as far-fetched as you might think about the drummer taking sick. I remember one time when our band was playing a one-night stand. It was a pretty important dance, too. And our first trumpet player was taken sick, and the kid from the local high school sat in and did a great job.
Well, Rick's really been playing the drums pretty good, Pop. Have you heard him recently? I mean, with the door open?
Well, no, but he seeps through the wall well enough for me to get the message.
I must say, Harriet, you girls on the decorating committee have certainly done a wonderful job.
Oh, thanks a lot, Junie. Everybody pitched in so willingly. It was really a lot of fun. Say, I wonder if the flowers have come yet.
Do you want me to check on it, Harriet?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Shirley.
Mrs. Nelson?
Yes, Tony?
Mrs. Rogers was looking for you. I just heard her talking to the manager of Tommy Jackson's band. Somebody got sick or something, and they want Ricky to play drums tonight. Yeah, Mrs. Rogers said they'd better ask you first.
Oh, well, thanks a lot, Tony.
Harriet?
Oh, hi, Sally.
I want you to meet Mr. Martin, the manager of Tommy Jackson's band. This is Mrs. Nelson.
How do you do?
How do you do, Ms. Nelson?
I just got the news by special messenger, and I know Ricky's going to be thrilled to death.
Boy, what a crowd. Wait a minute. Where's Rick? Well, I don't know.
Maybe he's just setting out this number.
Oh, there he is, over there with the guitar player.
What's he doing there? Rick! Oh, hi, Pop. What happened, son?
I guess there was a little misunderstanding. They didn't need a drummer tonight. What they wanted was a guy to carry the drums.
Well, you mean a band boy?
Yeah, I thought it was too good to be true. Don't say anything, though, Pop. I don't want to embarrass anybody. It was hard enough explaining why I was wearing this tuxedo.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Would Ricky Nelson please come to the bandstand?
Poor kid, they probably want him to lug some more cokes up on the bandstand.
Our drummer's been taken sick, and we'd like Ricky to sit in with us.
Well, how about that?
Hey, Rick, they're looking for you.
Yeah, I just heard.
Good luck, dear.
Here I am, Tommy. Go get him, Rick.
Did you hear the wonderful news? The drummer's been taken sick.
Terrible thing to say.
Come on, Rick. Hey, Jane, how about this? Isn't that great?
The drummer isn't seriously ill, is he, Dave?
No, the band manager just took him out to the bus. He says he thinks he'll be all right if he just rests for a little while.
Here he goes.
Well, he's dizzy.
That's it.
Say, pardon me, fellas. I'm Dr. Williams. They just announced your drummer was taken sick. I wonder if I could be of any help.
Oh, I'll tell you what happened. We just got word that the kid who's been acting as band boy for us tonight thought he was hired to play drums. So Tommy suggested that Al here get a convenient headache or something.
Oh, well, that's darn nice of you, fellas. How did you find out about Ricky?
Some other kid standing by the bandstand told us. He said this Ricky's a terrific drummer.
Oh, yeah, he is. Oh, say, wait a minute. This other kid, was his name Dave?
Yeah, that's right. He says he's known Ricky all his life.
That was swell, Rick. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, that was just great, Ricky.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the chance to play. Say, how's the drummer feeling? Have you heard?
Oh, I'm sure he's fine.
Say, I'd like you to meet my mother and father.
Oh, how do you do? It's nice to know you.
My brother, Dave. Hi.
Oh, Dave is your brother?
Yeah, have you met before?
Well, yes, we were just talking about a few things. I met your dad before, too, years ago, but he doesn't remember it.
Oh, really?
That's right. Maybe you'll remember the incident. You and your band were playing a one-nighter in Indiana, and your trumpet player was taken sick. I was in high school at the time, just like Ricky here. You gave me my first chance to sit in with a big band.
Of course I remember. It's nice to see you again.
It's taken me a long time to return the favor, but I'm sure glad I had a chance tonight.
Well, thanks a lot, so am I.
Pop's still got his card if you got a spare saxophone around.
Great!
I'm afraid I'm a little rusty on the saxophone.
You know, I think back in the 50s, nobody really anticipated the power of television, how many people it reached. Because when Rick sang that song, by the end of the week, it had sold 1 million copies. It's really amazing, because Fats Domino had already sung the song and had 1 million record seller.
David, by the way, where is the irrepressible Ricky?
He's still on the road. As a matter of fact, he won't be home till Christmas Eve. But you know, Rick, he's always been a traveling man.
with the Nelsons on an Ozzie and Harriet Christmas. And now we return to an Ozzie and Harriet Christmas.
The kids ate all the ice cream. You almost ready with that batch, Tom?
Let's have a look. Yep, it's all done.
Anybody home?
Merry Christmas. Oh, Parley, I'm so glad to see you. Merry Christmas, Tom. This is Parley Bear. He used to do Derby on me.
Well, I know.
Old friend.
Parley Bear,
Good to
my
see you,
gosh.
Tom.
Good to see you, too, in person, because I think in the last couple of years, I must have introduced 100 of your movies on television.
I hope so.
I hope so. Did you work with Oz before you went over to television on Ozzie and Harriet?
Oh, sure. Parley was a great radio actor.
Of course.
Weren't you, Parley?
Of course I was.
Just ask him.
And worked with him a lot after the series went up, too. He directed a lot afterwards.
That's right. That's right.
You know, when I heard you were serving ice cream, I wanted to make sure I'd get some. Is it Tutti Frutti?
Here's your Tutti Frutti. Oh boy, that looks good.
That'll be 10 cents apiece.
Oh, well, I tell you, the governor was a little late with my allowance this week, so just put it on the cuff and I'll pay a little later.
Oh, I'm sorry, but you'll have to pay cash.
I'm good for it. Give me my Tutti Frutti. Dave, I want my Tutti Frutti.
Ozzie.
David, come back here. Give me my Tutti Frutti.
Yeah, you know, and Ozzie didn't even like Tutti Frutti.
We started a whole craze with that episode called Tutti Frutti Ice Cream.
Ice cream is sort of a Nelson family tradition, isn't it?
Yes, it is. You know, Ozzie loved ice cream. He didn't drink and he didn't even smoke, but he sure did consume a lot of ice cream.
Darb! Just what is going on?
Oh, well, I'm glad you're awake. Well, I wasn't awake until you started throwing rocks through my window. I thought somebody was trying to elope with Sally. Oh, I just... Keep it quiet. I just wanted to come over here and ask you a question. Well, what, for goodness sake? Well, do you have any Tutti Frutti ice cream? Good night, Ozzie. Go home and go to sleep.
I just answer me. Yes, do you have any Tutti Frutti ice cream?
Are you out of your mind? What do you want with Tutti Frutti ice cream at this hour of the night?
Am I out of my mind? Well, I want to eat it, of course.
The gag is...
It's no gags. I was sleeping and I was dreaming about Tutti Frutti ice cream. And I thought you might have some in your freezer.
Well, I haven't got any in my freezer, and if I did have some in my freezer, I wouldn't give any to you.
Okay, just answer
guy
yes
up in the middle of the night like
don't
this.
make
Go
a
home
big
and go to
answer
sleep.
yes or no.
Now look what you've done. I'm locked out. Tutti Frutti. Sally. Sally.
Sally, I wouldn't eat any of your old Tutti Frutti even if you did have any, you old grouch.
Sally!
Oh, how about a Coke, Parley?
Yeah. Is it nice and warm?
Parley, you want a warm Coke?
Well, I'm sorry, Tom. There's kind of an inside joke. You know, one of the sponsors of the old Ozzie and Harriet show, I didn't mean the old Ozzie and Harriet.
The old.
Yeah, was Coca-Cola. Well, you know, today, the sponsors buy a spot here and a spot there, but in the old days of TV, they followed the pattern set forth by radio. A sponsor would buy all the spots on the show. Well, as I said, Coca-Cola was one of the sponsors, and Ozzie and Don would write episodes that we all had to drink Coca-Cola, generally walking down the driveway into the garage where Ozzie had stacks and cases of Cokes. Out would come the Cokes, off would come the top, and we'd stand there and drink warm Coke. It was Oh, it was 15 years before I knew you could cool Coca-Cola.
Yeah, then when Kodak sponsored the show, we all wore cameras around our necks.
Festooned with them from shot to shot. Yeah.
And when Hot Point sponsored it, we had a lot of scenes that were shot right here in the kitchen.
Wait a minute. The light is beginning to dawn. Is that why, when Hot Point was on, you were always eating pancakes all the time?
That's right. That's also why we backed into a lot of hot stoves in those days.
Oh, I imagine so.
Yeah, that's right. And we had a pancake sponsor, too.
Figures.
Tonight's Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet is brought to you by the dairy farmer members of the American Dairy Association.
You never outgrow your need for milk's vitality.
We're coming back for more of an Ozzie and Harriet Christmas right after these messages. And now back to an Ozzie and Harriet Christmas.
Oh, bet I know who that is. Hi, Dawn. Come on in.
Hi, David. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Thank you. You guys remember Dawn DeFore, don't you? Thorny on the show?
Yeah.
Hi, Thorny.
Hi, boys. Yep, I remember my boyhood days. Every year I'd go to work just before Christmas.
Oh, really? What kind of a job did you get?
No job. I'd go to work on my father.
Gee, Dave, it sure was fun doing this series. I believe that Oz was probably one of the most relaxed directors I had ever worked for. You know, for instance, we used to have those scenes in the backyard, you know, over the fences, like two old ladies hanging up clothes, you know, having a little chit-chat. And some way, Oz always would kind of, some movement, indicate to me that we were going to move over towards the steps. And eventually we would arrive there. And we had some great little bit of philosophy to kick around. And it was marvelous. And there was just no sweat. He seemed to know how to direct his people. This is what I was always a compliment to him, a compliment to me.
Right. I can remember you guys doing 12 and 13 pages without a cut. It was amazing.
I remember sometimes that you and Ricky would be out playing on that little spot of lawn we had. You'd be playing football. And I'd get a call from Leo Pepin, the executive producer on it, and he said, Don, look, you know, you don't have a call to Lamar, but can you come in this afternoon? You got to do a scene. We can't find the two boys, and they dirtied up their wardrobe. Right. So he said, come on in and do the scene. And we haven't got it typed yet, but it's in handwriting. And he said, we'll put the cards up. And I said, well, okay, it's all right, but I'll use the cards if I can rehearse with the cards, but I've really got to look at somebody when I'm talking. So he said, okay, bring him in. And I'd studied through this handwriting. It was Oz's handwriting. He did it just an hour before. And we'd do the scene, and by gosh, you know, we would get that scene off. And it was fantastic. It
was terrific.
And it would always gel and dovetail. Now here he's doing the current show, and here he's writing a little vignette that he and I have to do over the clothesline bit, and by gosh, it always worked.
Absolutely. I was always lousy at that. If they didn't have the cue cards and the teleprompters up there, I was lost. Would you like some ice cream, Don?
No, do you have a warm Coke?
Well, you just barely made it back for the Christmas party.
Yeah, that's right, Dave. I flew in last night after being in my hometown to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where I went to do a 2-hour Christmas special for them, which will play Christmas Eve. You know, I accepted it because I remembered the Christmas shows that we had always done. Oh, the Nelson Christmas parties were the greatest, and they were great shows that we did. And I wanted to be active in the Christmas season to do a show somewhere, and I did it. And just before I left, I got the call telling me that they were going to do one. We're going to pay a tribute to Ozzie, and we're going to do a Christmas show. And I said, look, I'll work it out some way. I called Cedar Rapids and said, we'll work it out, that you'll do it. And it's great doing it.
Oh, great, Don. It's great to have you here. See, with all that working back there and running back and forth, but you really have to stay in shape.
Well, you really do. And speaking of keeping in shape, I know that the Nelson family always kept in shape.
Dad was an Eagle Scout, and he came from the sound mind and sound body school of thought. He didn't smoke, and he didn't drink, and he always took care of his body. And he felt that athletics of some shape or form, whatever, was great for you. And he instilled that in us. And growing up, Rick and I both participated in athletics all through school, and later on I kept going with the trapeze a little bit, and Rick and I both play tennis now, which Pop did. All we needed was a football player to come in on the set from the Rams or SC or whatever, and the production would stop and football stories would start. First we shot for 5 days to do a half-hour TV show, and then later on we cut it down to 3 production days. My dad was really involved with football and sports, and even though we did pay close attention to the production schedules to make sure we got the show done on time, it was a nice place to work because of that. As a kid, I'd go over to Parley Bear's house and they'd show home movies of the Ringling Brothers Circus, and it was really fascinating. Parley, who of course was Darby on the show, was a lion tamer at one time, and he married a gal named Ernestine Clark, who originally was part of the Clark family, which had a trapeze act with Ringling Brothers. Then I got a chance to do a picture called The Big Circus and play the part of a catcher in a trapeze act, so I knew a little bit about the circus and I knew what was right and what was wrong. It just became fascinating for me. I was out of school and hadn't done anything too physical for the last 2 or 3 years, and I found out that by just getting into shape for the part was a great conditioner. So I kind of kept up with it after the picture ended.
David, you know, the thing that amazed me is that you do some fantastic trapeze work in that circus thing. Now, you know, I didn't know that you and Rick were in this in the early days until I saw it. You know, you did the show.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. Now, where'd you learn that?
Well, I started with a picture, and then I picked it up, went out on summer stock, kind of on circus summer stock, and did my own trapeze act. And then recently I've been doing a show called Circus of the Stars.
Oh, I've seen that. Oh, that's great, sure.
After about 5 years, it forces me to hold my stomach in at least once a year. But it's fun.
I better start taking that up. Teach me to keep my stuff in my stomach. Dave, I got to tell you this. You were always terrific to work with. And the thing that I liked about you when your dad would tell you something, you were a good listener. And this is one of the great battles of acting. You've got to listen. And when you listen, somebody says something, the muscles on your face, you're not conscious of it, but the muscles on your face react to that. And the audience out there knows that you're listening. And this is what I was always pleased of when I would watch your dad trick you.
You're just saying that, Don, because I directed you in our picture Canava, right?
No.
Nathan, you're frank. This may not be anything, but I think you should know. Just before the race, I saw Jess standing at the betting window. He was doubled over from coughing. When he straightened, he grabbed his chest as if he were in pain.
This isn't anything new. This has been going.
I just want to say, Dave, as a director, you were excellent and you were great to work with. And I used to tell our cast on when we were doing this picture, I said, there's a young Ozzie up there. He's doing all the things that Ozzie had taught us.
Oh, thank you, Don. I'll look at that as a very nice compliment.
And now we return to an Ozzie and Harriet Christmas.
Attention, all you young folks. The rock and roll dance contest is now going on over at the West Pavilion.
lot of shake going on. I said, come on over, baby, baby, you can't go wrong. We ain't faking, oh, whole lot of shake going on. Well, I said, shake, baby, shake. I said, shake, baby, shake. Well, let's shake, baby, shake. Well, let's shake, baby, shake. Come on over, oh, whole lot of shake going on. Oh, let's go now. I said, come on, old baby, we got a chicken in the barn. Whose barn? What barn? My barn. Come on, old baby, you really got the bull by the horn. We ain't baking, oh, whole lot of shake going on. Well, shake, oh, shake it, baby. Yeah. Shake it one time for me. Oh, so cool, baby, whole lot of shake going on. Let's get real low now. Shake, baby, shake. All you gotta do, honey, is kind of stand in one spot. Wiggle around just a little bit. That's when you got it. Yeah. Oh, baby, a whole lot of shake going on. Let's go one time now. Well, shake it, baby, shake. Shake it, baby, shake. Ooh, shake it, babe. Come on, babe. Baby, shake. Come on over. Oh, a lot of shaking going on.
Hi, Harriet. Oh, Mary Jane. Merry Christmas, darling.
Oh, Harriet, you look wonderful.
It's so good to see you. Tom, this is Mary Jane Crofton and Lyle Talbot.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Lyle. Hi, Mary Jane.
Hi, Tom. All right, knock it off, you three. Beginning to sound like an episode from the old show.
We have a loose connection.
That's what Joe said to me the other day. About the television, that is.
We'll make coffee.
Oh, isn't he nice?
Good evening, ladies, and whatever you brought with you.
Isn't he funny?
Here we are at the beautiful club, Zsa.
I wonder if Lowell Thomas is there.
Good evening, gentlemen. May I ask your names, please?
Why, it's Joe and Ozzie.
My name is Joe Nelson, and this is my friend Ozzie Randolph.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like them, but they have different names.
I suppose you gentlemen are out on the town tonight?
Yes, we're batching it, you might say.
What does that mean?
Means they're in for a lot of trouble.
Oh, thank you, waiter.
Oh, thank you. Cheers.
Well, I want to thank you fellas for being such good sports, and now we have a little surprise for you. You're each entitled to a free dance with one of our gorgeous showgirls.
Say, that's a big surprise. I think I'll take the blonde.
I think I'll take the red hair.
Well, that's a fine thing. When I had my hair red, he said he didn't like it. Oh, the station's gone off, Harriet.
Is the camera off, Joe?
Yeah.
Grab the table.
That did it. How do you like that? Ozzie sure is a good dancer.
I wonder how he's going to like dancing with a broken leg.
Well, I don't know about you, but I've seen enough.
Come on, let's go.
Well, girls, I think we've worried you enough. We're not at a nightclub at all. We're right downstairs in the Nelson basement with a special television set.
Mary Jane, you've known the Nelsons since radio days, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
As a matter of fact, I've known him since before the boys were on, when there were other actors doing them. But you know, I think that the radio show, the character of Clara Randolph, was a lot sillier than this one.
We had to do it with your voice, right?
Well, I had to be, you know, do that.
Yes.
And you know, I don't talk like that.
Of course not. Of course not.
So, but that's why, because in radio, yeah, you couldn't see.
Now, Lyle, did your character, Joe Randolph, come over from radio to television?
Oh, no. I was a kind of a brand new character. I ran into Oz one day on the lot where I was making the Bob Cummings show.
Oh, with Schultze and that
right,
show?
Yeah, with that show. And I saw Oz, and I'd always watched the show. I always liked Ozzie and Harriet. And I watched the show, and I told him so. And he said, would you like to see our new set? We've got a new house. You know, it's more mobile. We can move the sides. Because Oz would never cheat on scenes. You know, if there was something behind you, he'd have to set you in there and take the time to do it. But anyway, showed me this set, and I said, gee, I like this. The icebox was full of food and everything like this. And I said, what a spot. And he said, would you like to do one sometime? I said, sure. He didn't know that I was also a regular on the Bob Cummings show at the time. Anyway, I wound up doing that one character, and 11 years later, I was still with him. And through it, I had done one day he said to me, hey, you're doing the Bob Cummings show too, aren't you? But Oz was wonderful. He would time his shows. He always had several scripts to go, and he said, well, if you can't work this week, come next week, you know? He was a great guy.
Well, did I read somewhere that your parents and Harriet's parents knew each other? They were actors, right?
That's right. They were actors. And then I worked with Harriet's mother and her father, Roy Hilliard, who was a wonderful director. We were with the Winnidger Players, and that's when I first met Harriet. She was in school yet, and she would come to visit her mother and dad, and that's where I first met her, before she was actually in showbiz, as it were. Well, as a baby she was, but...
Yeah. I didn't have much time off. I'd come out of school and go straight onto the boards and then back to school again.
Right.
Let's talk about Ozzie as a director for a minute. Mary Jane, was he a taskmaster? Was he tough to work with?
Yeah, he was tough. But, you know, I don't ever remember Ozzie being angry on the set. I never really remember that. But he demanded a lot, and because he was also demanded so much of himself.
Well, he didn't just demand it of his actors. For instance, even the artisan, the craftsmen. I understand the greensmen you had to have real flowers and real plants.
Right, and Leonard did that.
Leonard,
remember?
right.
Leonard Gwynn.
And everything was growing. I mean, the shrubbery on the outside of the house, even though it was on a set, was growing. It was in pots, it was concealed. And when you use flowers, no plastic, nothing phony with Oz, and no plastic flowers. They were real bouquets. It kept the prop man busy matching each day if the bouquet, wilted a bit the day before. But
and you know, I have such a memory of that hunting lodge set. Do you remember when we went? He spared no expense on sets. Everything was quality, everything was first class, and I wanted to stay at that hunting lodge for a couple of weeks. It really was so beautiful.
Brings me up, I was asking you about it, Mary Jane. I'm going to ask you, Lyle. That sounds like he was a perfectionist and demanding because of all these, the Green Man.
Each show was a miniature feature, believe me. It was made as though, it was going to be a feature.
But he wasn't demanding and fussy with the actors.
Oh, well, I don't think so. I mean, unless, he wanted you to get it right, and he'd say, Lyle, you were great that last time. Now this time, when we do it again, be better.
Well, that's another, that's another thing about you. And you were always, to my knowledge, when I was growing up, you were a villain. In fact, I remember in the old Superman serial, you played Luthor, the villain. Yeah. And how did it feel playing a nice guy in the Ozzie and Harriet?
Oh, well, wonderful. And of course, I always felt that I was a comic, it was kind of funny. I was funny to Oz, I'd say, come on, Oz, let's hoke it up a little bit. He said, well, I don't know, Lyle, that's going too far. But I talked him into a few things. We'd do a few pratfalls.
It sure sounds like it was fun working with America's favorite family.
Ricky?
David?
Turn on the lights, dear.
Find the switch.
Nelson.
Did you and Rick miss having a normal childhood? My gosh, the show was on 14 years. What was it like growing up in front of an audience?
Well, it was, if I didn't say that it wasn't a little intimidating, I'd be lying, because it was. We had millions of parents around wherever we went, so we had to be a little careful of what we did out on the street. But as far as normal, I wouldn't know the difference because that was our life. I mean, we, in the beginning, we worked on Saturdays and went to school, regular school during the week. And all our activities were based around the show or vice versa. If we had a conflict, generally Dad could arrange for the shooting schedule to be moved so that we could play the football game.
I was going to say, you were talking about non-professional conflicts, like a football game or something.
Yeah, sure.
Now, Oz was pretty hot stuff. How did you and Ozzie meet?
I was appearing at the Hollywood restaurant, and we had a mutual friend, Ham Fisher.
The cartoonist?
That's right, Ham Fisher, who drove Joe Palooka, remember?
Of course I do.
Well, Ham said to Ozzie, I think I know the gal that you would be interested in. And he brought Ozzie down to the Hollywood restaurant, introduced him. And he made me an offer to sing with the band at Glen Island Casino. Ozzie also started Glen Island Casino, incidentally, yes. There have been a lot of name bands.
That's in the East, right?
That's right, out in Westchester.
Right.
On Long Island Sound. And at any rate, that's how it began. He made me purely a business proposition.
So to speak.
But it was only half my salary.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was reluctant to take it because I was doing very well. By that time, I had an apartment in New York, and I'd bought my own furniture, and I was landed gentry, you know. So I wasn't too anxious. But the manager of the Hollywood restaurant, who was a lovely man, Joe Moss, and he said, why don't you go with him for the summer, Harriet? And he said, if it doesn't work out and he doesn't have a job at the end of the summer, you can come back here at the Hollywood and start the new show in September. Well, you can't do any better than that, you know. And he said, he's a lovely boy. And he said, I think he's going to go far, and I'd like to see you hitch your wagon to that star.
Well, now, was Ozzie's band really successful at the time, or he'd just come from Rutgers, or what?
I hadn't ever heard of him, you know. And I asked Joe Moss who Ozzie Nelson was, and he had won the the Daily Mirror, the New York Daily Mirror contest for big bands.
Well, now,
I'd never heard of him.
When you first met him, now, I've seen pictures of him, and he was pretty hot stuff. He looked like your typical collegiate, nifty guy that every co-ed in the world would want to latch onto. How did you feel about him?
That's right. Well, he was still going to school, you know, when he had the band.
Yeah.
And he was, Ozzie was a graduate attorney. I don't know whether you knew that or not.
No, I did not.
He had his doctorate in jurisprudence.
For heaven's sake.
And I was very proud of that. He'd never allowed himself to be called a doctor, but I used to do it for fun.
I see.
Anyway, where was I?
I was asking you how you...
I can get so wound up.
Physically, were you attracted to him when you met him, obviously?
No, it was purely business, purely a business proposition. And our first trumpet player in our band, I lived in Manhattan. And the first trumpet player in our band used to live in Manhattan. And he would drop me off at my house every night from Glen Island Casino. And one night, Holly Humphreys and his wife, and they had a date. And so Holly couldn't drop me off. And so Ozzie said, I'll take her home. I'm going down to Manhattan anyway. And it wasn't a date. We became friends, and it became a routine of he would drop me off instead of Holly.
Did he have a nifty little roadster with a rumble seat or any of that typical collegiate business?
He had a Lincoln convertible.
Holy smoke.
Big stuff. And a 2-week vacation, and he said, I think we ought to separate for a while to make sure we really need each other. So I took my mother and went to Atlantic City, and he took his mother and went to Spring Lake. And it lasted for 3 days, and he called me and he said, are you as miserable as I am? And I told him I was.
I'd like to know how you and Ozzie developed the radio show that was to become the series, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet.
Well, we had the band on with Red Skelton. You know, Red Skelton was so hot. And we had the band on Red Skelton's show. Radio, right. That's right. And Ozzie did all the straight men's parts, and I did all the women's straight parts. You remember Junior?
You played his mother.
I played his mother. I loved doing that.
Of course you did.
And at any rate, we were on very successfully with Red for a while, and the Army took him. The war broke out, and Red went into the Army. So we were going to go to another show as a band, and John Goodell, who was a very close friend of ours and a producer, and Don Quinn, who wrote the Fibber and Molly show,
sure
remember?
Did. Oh, and then John Goodell later did You Bet Your Life.
That's right, among other things. And he was partly responsible for our show. And the two John, Don and John, said to Ozzie, why don't you sit down and write your own show? And gave Oz an idea, so he sat down and wrote the show about a band leader and his vocalist wife on their day off. And we got a studio at CBS. We put out the tickets. We did the show, and I'll never forget that first show because we'd never done straight out comedy. We'd never been comics. And I'll never forget the relief when that first laugh came rolling in. I thought, oh, we're home.
Well, the boys had never been on camera before. They'd only done radio. How was the crossover from radio to film handled?
They took it right in stride. We did a major picture at Universal called Here Come the Nelsons, to see whether we would be acceptable visually as we were on radio. And that was our pilot for television. That first year, it's a wonder we didn't have a nervous breakdown.
How was Ozzie as a director, David? Did you learn much from him?
Oh, I sure did. He was a very talented man. I really think his specialty was comedy. He had a wonderful sense of timing, and his sense of pace was great. And as he went on, he I think devised very interesting camera moves that kept the scenes moving, and I learned an awful lot from him. He was great with kids. He was wonderful. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've worked with anybody any better that he could get a performance out of a 4-year-old. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of actors walking around now who had their opening performance happen on the Ozzie and Harriet show. And even if they couldn't read, which Rick couldn't when we first started on the radio show, and memorize the scripts, the kids would, he'd sit and get them into a close-up, and he'd just talk to them, and he'd get the responses that he wanted.
You got me, partner.
He was really wonderful with, he just taught me an awful lot about comedy.
There's certain things about Ozzie's style of acting and directing which you, both of you, have called Ozzie-isms. Can you tell us about them?
I kind of coined Ozzie-isms as meaning certain things as far as mechanics of camera moves. If you're moving a camera in a dolly shot, it has to stop before you cut, or don't cut from a still shot to a moving shot, and editorial things like that are kind of Ozzie-isms. There are a few others. Rob and I think we were talking the other night about the way Dad happened to put handles on things, and that's kind of an Ozzie-ism, the way he would warm up to a straight line or a joke. He wouldn't come right on, and he was able to carry it off.
Dear Iggy, I'm writing this note to let you know honestly and frankly are underlined.
And in capital letters. You haven't written anything there that might hurt Iggy's feelings, I hope.
Oh, heck no. I just say that I don't like the book.
Well, Rick, that's not very diplomatic. That's pretty blunt.
Well, I thought you told me to be honest and frank.
Well, yes, I did. But after thinking it over, I've sort of changed my mind again. I mean, you should be honest and frank, but also diplomatic.
Are we back to being diplomatic again?
Oh, hello, dear. I was just explaining to Rick.
Just what exactly does diplomatic mean, Pa?
Oh, well, it just means being tactful and sneaky. Well, for instance, suppose you should meet a woman and she's wearing a ridiculous, silly-looking hat. Well, you wouldn't come right out to her and say, oh, that reminds me, Harriet.
Remind you of what?
Well, I'll tell you about it later. Anyway, I think, Rick, you just ought to write a real nice letter to Iggy and tell him you enjoyed reading the book and you appreciate his thoughtfulness.
Okay, Pop, if you say so. I think that's best too, dear. Okay, Mom, if you say so.
I agree with Mom and Pop.
Okay, David, if you say so.
Well, let's get out and let the boys get to work.
Okay, dear, if you say so.
Whatever the boys were interested in would give Ozzie an idea for doing a show. For instance, when they were riding motorcycles, when they got into motorcycles and hill climbing, we did a show about that. When they got into the aerial act.
Right.
That was a dream sequence. by the way.
Well, it was a dream sequence in the show, but it was for real, and the fact that they did it for real gave him the idea.
That's one of the examples of a dream sequence within, you know, our outside
Dream
activities,
sequence.
right? It was pretty tough to bring a trapeze act into the Nelson household. So what we did when the thing was I was interested in it or had met somebody who came to town with the circus and become friends with him, and it goes into a dream sequence that has us flying and in the act, because physically we could do it. That was a very expensive show, as a matter of fact.
How did you feel when the series finally ended?
Lost for a little while. I mean, you get used to hitting the deck at 6 o'clock every morning and going in the street, you know, and I know Ozzie was hanging out to dry. He liked working. He was work-oriented. But then we got a show together and went on the road with it. And we had such a good time on stage. As a matter of fact, I always felt that as far as performing was concerned, that was his medium. He was so good on stage.
When you first started doing the show, did you ever dream that it would last for 14 years and represent so much to people like my family and families all over the world that it does?
No, when we first began the show, it was wild comedy. It was very, very broad on radio. And then the show started to evolve. We didn't intend to make it that way. People seemed to call for it. And it evolved into something more legitimate. And I know people always used to say, what does Ozzie do for a living? They always thought that was, you know, they were the first ones to think of that. He used to say he was a brain surgeon.
Oh, yes?
Yeah. And
Retired brain surgeon.
Retired brain surgeon.
Yes.
Mom?
Yes, dear?
Is it all right if Ricky and I go to the early movie tonight?
I guess so. I see you've got the new sport coat on.
Yeah, pretty sharp, huh?
It sure is. Don't you think you ought to wear a tie with it?
Oh, yeah, I want to ask you about that. Do you think Pop'd mind if I borrowed my tie back from him?
Oh, no, I don't think so, dear. He's in the den. He's probably fallen asleep, though.
Oh, gee.
Well, look, why don't you go in very quietly and take it off of him? I don't think you'd wake him up.
Okay. Hey, Mom, could you give me a hand here?
Oh, you betcha. You get more like your father every day. Where's Ricky?
He's upstairs.
Is he changing his clothes?
Yeah, he's getting on one of Pop's coats, too.
Oh, no.
Yeah, wait till you see him. Come on, will you, Ricky?
Okay. There you are, boy. Night.
Thanks, Mom. Come on, Rick.
Ricky, where'd you get that hat?
Down the magic store.
Okay. Good night, dear.
Night, Mom.
Have a good time.
Okay.
Ricky, did you know you're supposed to take your hat off when you kiss a lady?
Please, girls, I'm married.
I think that's does it.
Well, come on, let's go.
Hey, what happened?
58, Dave.
How'd you guys get across the water? What did he think we had to build a bridge? You might get out of the way, Bob. You're blocking the road.
Well, I can't move the car. It's stalled.
That's not fair. I think I can make it.
Who's got the flag?
It was a dead heat. Absolutely, a dead heat. I thought it was as it crossed the bench. I think that was a dead heat.
Yeah, dead heat, Dave.
Well, at least we...
I think it's time to turn in, fellas.
Holy, Mom, so soon?
It's getting late. Come on, I'll turn down the beds.
Well, it sure was a swell Christmas, Bob.
Yeah, it sure was, Bob.
Oh, thanks, fellas. I enjoyed it, too.
David and I would like to thank you for spending Christmas with us, and we'd like to wish each and every one of you season's greetings and a Happy New Year from Don DeFore, Parley Bayer, Mary Jane Croft, Lyle Talbot, Kent McCord, James Stacy, Don Nelson, and Tom Hatten.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Oh, pardon me, folks. We've just heard from our outpost telephone that Ozzie Nelson and Butch Barton have just taken the lead in the cross-country obstacle race.
He's not doing so good, is he? He's never gonna make it. Come on, Pop!
Come on, Pop. You gotta make it. Honey, have you got your slingshot?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for watching. I sure had a great time making that with Michael, David Simon, and so many of the other wonderful people who worked on it. It was a thrill to meet the cast, and it's a thrill to be continuing to bring you entertainment and interviews behind the scenes with a lot of stars. My favorites, of course, are the Westerns, so you'll be seeing a lot more of those in the coming years. There are hundreds of them available right now, and you can watch them all. Binge on them. Make it a New Year's special. I'll see you next year.